So we're going to continue our just basic drum setup. We'll move on to snare drum. So again, we've got plenty of input gain. Got a drum that sounds like a snare drum, so that's good. This is just the snare top mic.
Yeah.
So what are your guys thinking in terms of EQ choices right out of the gate?
High pass filter.
High pass filter.
First thing.
Sure.
Get rid of the nasty stuff.
Up to like 5K maybe.
Yeah, all
Maybe
the way.
not quite 5K, but I'd say at least 100 we can kind of be safe with because there's nothing down below that.
80.
80.
You really play it safe.
70.
You just don't want to go up to 5K. Huh?
78.5. That's what I'm talking about.
Not
That's
500.
going to be the perfect snare.
Yeah,
Okay, no, really. Somewhere below 100.
so that's 90.
So all we're trying to do is get rid of the kick stuff that we're going to hear in there, the floor
Yeah.
toms. If you got the bass amp next to you,
Right.
you're going to hear some of that. We're just trying to get rid of some of that mud out of there.
And the cool thing about a console like this and some others is you have an RTA on the channel, so you can see there's nothing under this. There's nothing down below that anyway, so just dump it. It's
Right.
great.
It's good.
So scoop the mids. That's what I would do next. We may differ.
I would scoop the mids because we're going to do this simple kit. We do have a snare bottom that we're going to work on a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would take some of the mids out of the
That's
top.
6, 7, 800 stuff.
Yeah.
Probably so, yeah. So let's do that. We'll cut a few dB there.
And see, that's
See,
some
we
of the
protect
little,
the body of the low
right.
mid.
Yeah.
You still have that tone of the drum down there in the low
but the
mids.
little boxy weird thing diminished a little bit, which was good.
See, I would mix with my eyes and just keep going until it looks obnoxious.
You'd end up on some Facebook group then.
I actually do like the way that sounds better.
Cool. So
good.
would you guys ever add high end here, or would you just use the bottom mic for that?
I think some high end on
Yeah.
the top mic because, and you can hear with this drummer, he's ghosting. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
little things happening. You're not going to hear a lot of that unless you put
Yeah.
in some of that high
Maybe
end.
even a shelf.
Well, and for me too, I really like the idea of a drum with a good bit of crack in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if we get that, and then maybe drop the frequency down a little bit even.
And
So
this
That's
sounds,
cool.
that top shelf thing.
Yeah.
And to me, if I was up next to the snare drum, that's a little more like what I would be hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to hear a lot of that high end off the stick.
And you're going to hear some of the snares too, even just
That's
standing
right.
in front of it.
That's
so
right.
that's cool. How
All
about
right.
compression?
Let's do, yeah, absolutely.
So again, I think, we've talked about compression in other places, but the ratio for me is probably, we're going to start, 3-to-1 or so.
Yeah.
And then we'll just bring the threshold down until we start to see some gain reduction, which in this case is, again, use your ears, not your eyes.
Yeah.
And then for me, I'll kind of play with attack and release because
Me
I want
too.
the transient of the drum to get through before gain reduction
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
takes over. So I might slow the attack down just a little bit.
Why don't you speed it up all the
Okay,
way
let's
so
go
we
all the
can
way,
hear
yeah.
it?
See
Kind
how
of
all
smushes it.
the body of the front of the tone is just gone.
Yep.
But if we get it to like 25 or so, 30 milliseconds, we've got
Got it back.
enough room for that
The
top
fatness,
end.
the fatness
Yeah, the
is
crack
still
of
there.
it still
Yeah.
gets through. And then depending on the tone that you're going for, you might play with release as well, maybe slow the release down a little bit. So the compression is just,
What's nice is now that we've actually compressed this, it's brought the gain down a little bit, but if we use the output of the comp and bring it back up, all of a sudden now you got this huge rich drum that you can kind of add back in your mix.
That sounds really good. It's just missing one thing. Verb.
reverb.
a little bit of verb.
Yep. So we're sending to our verb already. Now this console and some of the smaller consoles don't have 1,000 great choices for reverbs. So part of what we need to do is dial in the verb itself, make sure we're getting some of that effect. But then we may want to look at the parameters too to see what we might want to change to get a better drum verb sound.
Right.
Cool.
So let's see if we can go there and just see what we have to work with. Effects, there it is. So right now we've just got this set to a basic plate. Reverb time's about 2.5 seconds.
It sounds
And
pretty good.
I'll be
That's
honest
just
with
the
you.
No
stock.
pre-delay, and that's just
I
what's in the
generally,
desk.
being like the effect guy, I generally will default to a plate when I'm creating a simple drum verb.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's just got that sizzle already built into it.
I just want to know, we didn't touch this.
Right.
That's the
This
way it
is
came
stock.
up,
Turned it on, turned it up.
and it sounds great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people work a long time on a drum verb. I don't know if you have to.
Let's just leave it
Feels
then.
pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
good.
Done.